Good morning, everyone, and lovely to see you all back again. So for the next few minutes, what I want to do is just give everyone a brief overview of the submissions that have been made to the Citizens' Assembly by the members of the public and by stakeholder groups over the period since we launched the public consultation process. So it's something that is a very important element of the Citizens' Assembly. We've had so many applications from groups and organisations and individuals who have wanted the opportunity to speak to the Citizens' Assembly. And as you can imagine, there's far more requests and offers than we have time and space to accommodate in the programme. So what we have done is we have said to each and every member of these applicants that we are providing every written submission and every video submission that we received to the members of the Assembly. So I want to give you a flavour of the submissions that have been made and how we're going to make use of them. On 4th of May, Thursday the 4th of May, we opened the consultation process, and it ran for 8 weeks and closed on the 30th of June. And so then 2 weeks later, we uploaded the submissions to the members area of the website, which each and every one of you has a password access to. And we'd encourage anybody who's been having technical difficulties, and I know 1 or 2 people have had some issues accessing the documents, so please come and notify us, let us know if you're having any trouble using the system. But for the vast majority of you, it appears to be working very well. And so we've received a total of 794 submissions, almost 800, 775 of which were valid. And of those 775, we had 118 submissions from organisations and 650 from individuals. And some of you I know have been reading through those submissions on the website. They include the submission itself, but also a summary of that submission, which is like if you like, a maximum 200-word description of what the key points in the submission are. That's a summary that was written by the person or the organisation themselves. So it's not us interpreting what they say, it's them trying to summarise it to make to give you a quick glance at what the submission is about before you decide to dive into it in detail. So there are video submissions. Some organisations opted for video submissions and some individuals indeed, and made a really high quality series of videos as well. So you'll see those as well as the documents. What I would say in terms of quality control, which is always something very important to have built into the process, we went to great pains to ensure quality control of this, and I have to say, from my experience, having been involved in many public consultation processes over the years, I have to say this is probably the most successful that I've been involved in. So we had identification verification systems in place, so we know that nobody was scamming the system and submitting multiple times. We know that each and every one of the submissions that are there are from the person that they say they're from, and we have redacted names and personal information where the person has requested it. We haven't yet made these submissions public because we want to double check that everything is compliant with data protection requirements and so on. So these submissions are only available for now to the members of the Assembly, but in due course they will be published on the website for everybody to see and read and review. I have to say my experience of the submissions, and I think you'll agree with me, is that there's a huge diversity of opinion and perspective in there, but the quality of those submissions is really outstanding. I think I've never seen such a high quality of written submissions. No matter what perspective people are arguing, it's very commendable, the level of attention and effort that people went to. So I thank everybody who's made a submission, and I think it's really a high quality set of documents that will inform wider policy system thinking about the perspectives out there among the general public. I will say that there is obviously a degree to which some of the submissions were coordinated. So for example, there are organisations, there are representative groups that would have sort of corralled the input of multiple different practitioners or multiple different stakeholders. So we can see that, for example, some of the drugs and alcohol task forces in their submissions went to great effort within their community, within their catchment area, to engage with service providers and to engage with to engage with service users and people in their communities affected in different ways by drugs use. So there's a huge amount of effort went in by the likes of the Drug and Alcohol Task Forces, also by the likes of representative groups for different advocacy positions. And we can see that there has been some organisation and coordination of inputs from some of the personal submissions as well. Having said that, that doesn't invalidate them, but you just need to be aware that we have just shy of 800 submissions. It doesn't mean that these submissions are representative of the views of the general public, but they are very useful for us to use as a resource as we work our way through this process nonetheless. So just a very quick overview, if my eyesight allows me. We have submissions, these are the personal submissions, the 657 that came from individuals, and you can see where they came from. I suppose, thankfully, the vast majority of them are from here in Ireland, but we did have some inputs from, particularly from the UK, and also from further afield, but I think it's important to know that the vast majority of them came from Ireland. And on the table on the right is those submissions from organisations, and again there was several from the UK, one from Spain, one from the USA, but again the vast majority here from Ireland. So I think that's useful information for you to be aware of. The types of groups and organisations that submitted, there was a very significant number of submissions from community and voluntary service providers. Some of them will have spoken to you here previously during the earlier meetings of the Assembly. There is also a very significant number of advocacy and representative bodies, and those advocates and representative bodies, you can read all of their submissions online, and you'll be hearing from some of those groups tomorrow in the opening session. Statutory and community voluntary organisations, a good selection of those, also some public bodies and indeed political parties. So all of those are available to read. You can find a summary and the detailed submission from each of those. 2 minutes, so I'm running out of time. I won't dwell on this other than say there's a huge range of different topics covered and different perspectives articulated. I'll put this up on the website afterwards so you can have a look at it in detail, but that's just to give you a flavour of the range of different topics that are there. Similarly, the topics from organisations and groups, significant focus, as you can imagine, on the types of services that they provide and the kind of concerns that they have. And what next? To finalise, submissions will continue to be available on your members area on the website. Each of you has a username and password to log in and dig deeper. It will assist you in understanding the rationale and objectives of advocates and representative bodies for different potential responses in relation to drugs use. So the session that we'll be having tomorrow in relation to legislation in particular, and the working document that you would have received in email over recent days, will be supplemented by the kind of perspective. So, for example, if there's a group there advocating for a particular approach, they're probably far more capable and effective at explaining why they're advocating that reason and the underlying objectives than we could do in our summary document. So I'd encourage you to start cross-referencing the document that you have, that you'll be discussing tomorrow in detail, with some of the submissions. And indeed, we've put some links in there. I know somebody said this morning some of those links are not working. Those are the links that bring you into the password protected area of the website, so you need to be logged into your members area to access some of those links. And that's it. As I said, we will be publishing the submissions in the public domain in due course once the Assembly is over and once we've made sure that we're compliant with data protection requirements. But again, thanks to everybody who has made submissions. It's a wonderful treasure trove, I think, of perspectives and information and suggestions. Just to wrap up, I would say that there are probably hundreds of suggested recommendations in there for the members of the Assembly. We are obviously not going to have time to debate and discuss all of those recommendations, but we will be proposing to you a way in which the Citizens' Assembly, you, the members of the Assembly, can, in the course of the report and the recommendations, do something with those suggestions and recommendations rather than just saying we don't have time to address them. There is a pathway by which you can refer those recommendations on to the appropriate authorities for them to consider and respond to. So even if we don't have time to cover in detail all of those recommendations, we will make use of them, or at least give them an opportunity to be considered by the relevant authorities. So thank you very much, and yeah, thanks. Thank you.